Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 28, season 5 of the Standoff with Brad and Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. We're live here every Wednesday throughout the season. Richie is not here yet. He sent me an SOS this afternoon saying he was stuck on a job and his job was a 4-hour drive away from home. So he wasn't sure what time he'd get here. So we're hoping he'll turn up at some point during the show, but if not, I've got Paul to tag in.
I was going to say, lies. Look, fake news, folks. Fake news. Richie has been dropped. Just like the Warriors, he's not made finals time, and so I'm here to warm up before finals.
Yeah. So my little line I was going to say to Richie, I'll say to you.
First, we've got it.
You got to put your on-air light on.
We're on air, so the on-air light has to go on.
Very good. So the Warriors season's officially over, Paul, and they ended it with an amazing comeback victory. The rest of the round had some interesting results, which I got way wrong, but looking at the tips results when we look at later, I was one of the only ones that didn't see it going the way it did. But how was your weekend, and what did you think of this round that you didn't watch?
No, you're quite right. I didn't watch any of this round, but I had a fine weekend. Thank you very much. I was very hungover on Saturday. I hit the fishing club hard on Friday night. So it was not good. But the multi started off badly, and then it went worse. Let's be honest. We got 1 out of 6 right on the multi. Yes, I would have thought that the TAB might be kind of, sort of sympathy or pity, give us back some money, but no, not at all.
Yeah, that's disappointing. See, there's a few people in. Simon, is he in? Oh, wow. And Bjorn's here saying that he thought I was going to be dropped based on my tips this season. Yeah, I'm doing as bad as he is. And Jacko said, yeah, all smiles tonight. Yeah, no negativity this week because, as you said, the Dragons, the Broncos both lost and the Warriors won. So couldn't be happier here. But yeah, I had a good weekend too. We officially broke the curse of this house. My partner, since I moved in here, my partner has never watched a Warriors win in this house. And she was here on Saturday to watch Sean's last game. And yeah, we got the win, so we broke that streak. Thankfully.
Next season, Brad might allow me to go back to Mount Smart to break that streak as well of one game that I've been to that they lost.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Only once they can't make the 8. Or only if they can't make the 8, sorry, not once.
Yeah, geez. Negative straight out of the gate from you, Paul. So while we're here live on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m, you can also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio or Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything that you need to know in the week that was Rugby League, including our top stories of the week, a review of the round 26 matches. We'll then answer some questions from you, as one I've prepared for Richard, which I may have to answer myself. We'll then preview round 27 and discuss who we're picking. Might make a pretty straightforward multi. You just have to go with what I say, Paul. Before then ending with a quick recap of Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we may as well jump straight into the top stories, Paul, and hopefully you can give a little bit of input into stuff.
All knowledge.
So we'll start off with Tigers drama, as there always is every week. During last week, there was a report that Balmain wanted to end their relationship with Wes and attempt to return to the NRL. A day or two later after that news came out, the Balmain chairman, Danny Stapleton, came out and rejected the claim. And it was a former Balmain player who is a president in Balmain, was the guy saying, no, we're sick of this relationship. We want out. I don't know a lot about it, but I looked into a little bit of the details, and basically Balmain were in a lot of financial strife. They owed, I think they said they owed like $3 million to the NRL. The West part of the partnership paid off that debt. So if there was a breakup, they would somehow have to find a way to repay that, I guess. I'm not sure of the contract side of things. But it's, from what I've seen on the social media front, most people aren't happy with the idea of them breaking it up, because what's going to happen? Are they going to try to bring another team in Sydney to have West Magpies and the Balmain Tigers both there? It just wouldn't look good. I think it would end up just...
that's the Perth Sydney team as well.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if it was out of context, what the other guy said, but Balmain have tried to quickly seal it down. I'm happy with them to stay as they are. I was before the Warriors were a thing. My granddad was a Balmain man, so I had like a Balmain jersey and stuff, and like the Tigers, but I don't like them enough to wish they came back. And yeah, Bjorn said it's all talk, nothing will happen, just a typical NRL story that goes nowhere. That's what this part's about, though. We've got to do something to make Paul angry that we go over an hour. So, have you got any input on this? I know you're a big fan of the Balmain Tigers.
No input at all. Apart from we don't need any more Sydney teams.
Yeah. This one you might be able to have a bit of a stab at. There was a bit of drama between Elliot Whitehead and Roosters coach Trent Robinson. Whitehead, we'll talk about it in the game later, had a bit of a rough night. 2 sin bins and the like. He injured Brandon Smith in an accidental hip drop tackle. He said in the press conference afterwards that he went up to Trent Robinson, the Roosters coach, and asked how Brandon Smith was. And Robinson told him that he does far too many hip drops. It's too much of a habit from him, and to go away, basically. It was a bit more colourful from the gist of it. Robinson doubled down on it in the press conference and said, I did tell him that it's just, unfortunately, it's part of his game, and he's too old to be making those types of mistakes. Brandon Smith actually came out and said that he gave Elliot a call and said no hard feelings. It is what it is. I did look at the stats, and this season, Elliot Whitehead has had 3 hip drop charges this year. So that isn't really a lot when you consider how much hip drop crackdown. We're getting 3 or 4 hip drops a game, and a guy that plays every game. It's still more than you'd like, but if you're doing it all the... Yeah, well, he didn't get a lot of bans. He has now. But yeah, it's Jacko said Robbie lived in a glass house. Yeah, the Roosters have their fair share of guys that don't really toe the line.
I think every team has it to a degree, but look, it's something that they're trying to get rid of for a good reason. I.e., he injured a player, right? Is that so? If players aren't adapting to this, then and still getting banned at this part of this end of the season, what have they been doing? I'm sorry, but you say there's been a crackdown on this. You know it's coming. To be doing it by this end of the season, you've not changed your technique properly. You've not put the effort in to try and change. And so from that point of view, sorry, but deserves as long a ban as he gets.
Yeah, he's not disputing that. It's more the talk about he was trying to show sportsmanship and see how the injured player who it was. And the coach reacted not in a positive way. And as Bjorn and Jack have been saying, Trent Robertson fully backs Jared Waweera-Hargreaves and says he shouldn't be suspended when he just came back 1 week after a suspension, being suspended again. So that's one of his own players, and he always stands up for him.
But let's go, at the end of the day, the reason he's pissed off is it's 2 games for 4 finals. He's in the top 4, and he's upset that he's lost a player for finals. It's nothing to do with the actual action. It's about the fact that he's lost a player for finals, and that's why he's pissed off. And that's why
Wait for the injuries, Paul. He lost more than one. But yeah, and as I said, Brandon Smith has said it's all fine, no hard feelings. So we'll move on. There's been reports that the Seagulls, Dolphins, and Sharks have all shown interest in signing Ronald Volkman next season. If you recall, Paul, Ronald Volkman was one of the halves with the Warriors that left to go play for the Dragons, then failed his medical and basically had no home. And there was a lot of back and forth on which club was at fault for not sticking up for Ronald. Was it the Warriors who let him go? We were of the argument that his management requested a release, so they released him. And then he signed, and there was some communication error between both clubs in terms of the passing of the information on his injuries and what have you. The Warriors, I think, ended up paying for his surgeries because the Dragons refused. But the Warriors said they'd do it. Jacko said Volkman can play. Pity we lost him. Yeah, I think he'd be a handy pickup for any of those teams, and I wouldn't say no to him coming back to the Warriors with Sean disappearing. But I guess with this, what happened at the end of last year, beginning of this year, that may be a bridge too far. But yeah, hell of a talent. It was just unfortunate with his injuries. So I think, yeah, all those teams would be very lucky to have him. Paul.
Okay, look, yeah, good luck to him. And I guess this situation where players are kind of reliant on clubs to pay for this sort of stuff, you do wonder, should actually the NRL pick this up, all of these injuries, so that any player who has this stuff kind of, yeah, you shouldn't be left in the dangling, wondering who's going to pay for your surgery and going, oh, I can't afford surgery. That's these guys put their bodies on the line, they get really hurt because of it, and the game needs to look after them. And good luck. Well, it's great he's coming back, and good luck to him next season.
Oh, I'm going to get in trouble, I know, but we've spoke at length. They had that whole player strike on the verge thing because the RLPA wanted the NRL to do more, which I was fine with. But in this situation, the RLPA wiped their hands of Ronald and didn't want to do anything. You know, the RLPA gets paid money from the players to basically have their back. And in this situation, that organization that looks after the players didn't want a part of it, which I thought was a bad look after all the players doing the we're all in this together.
Yeah, I'm guessing that their position was he's not actually a player because he's not got a contract.
Yeah, but see, part of their argument is that the players should be looked after they've stopped playing.
I don't know. I agree. Yeah, it's about it's a bad look by them. I can see where they've come from, and yeah, that's they've messed up. Let's be blunt. Yeah, they got the PR,
but yeah,
the PR wrong, and they got the player welfare piece wrong on that.
But yeah, hopefully he gets a deal and can hit the ground running. Another half that could be going into the free agency is Toby Sexton from the Bulldogs. He's not re-signed with the Bulldogs yet, and he intends to test his value on the open market. There would be a few teams, I think, interested in picking him up. He's had a pretty decent year for the Bulldogs, and he's obviously seen an opportunity where he can make a bit more money either by jumping ship or from the Bulldogs themselves. So interesting times for the Bulldogs if they end up losing their half after doing so well this year.
Yeah, an interesting one. Always concerning players trying to test their value on the market. Yeah, good luck. It comes back to bite you a few times. Sometimes it works, but yeah, it seems to bite people quite a lot. I think there's quite a few players who think they're worth more than they really are.
Halves are hard to come by, though. So they have a bit of luck, but
we'll see.
Yeah. Now I've got a bit of rumors about potential signings, both here and in the UK. So I'll round them off quickly, Paul. So we've got Hull FC have got a double. They're rumored to have signed Jordan Rapana from the Raiders on a 2-year deal, and they're apparently very close to signing Tiger half Aiden Caesar. The Tigers have also had Corey Horsburgh take a tour of their facilities and seem to be in the driver's seat to pick him up for next season. I think it's a smart play. They lost Stefano, their front rower, And we'll talk about in the signing news. They've already picked up one, but their idea was to pick up Corey and Royce Hunt, 2 props for the price they are going to pay for one. And so if they can get this deal across the line, I think that's actually a more smart investment for them than spending almost $1 million on Stefano. So that'd be good. Tanner Boyd from the Titans has been rumored to have been given permission from the Titans to negotiate with other clubs. So that's another half that could be out on the market. And Aaron Woods has announced his retirement from the NRL and will focus on his media career in a move that made everyone say, I didn't know he wasn't retired yet. And Jacob said, yeah, Hunt's a great pickup for the Tigers. Yeah, we'll talk about that in the signings. But yeah, I threw a lot of them names at you there, Paul.
Yeah, most of them mean nothing to me, let's be honest. But look, if you get two props for the price of one, why not? I guess my only point there is that at the end of the day, you can't have 2 players on the pitch. You can only have one in a position. So you want to have
you can have 2 props, Paul.
You have 2 props, you know what I mean? Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's I mean, depth is good, but come finals time, it's going to be it's your match day squad that matters. So it doesn't matter how many players you've got left over. So you need that quality. So I guess from that point, it depends where you are and what you're looking for as a club on that one.
Yeah, and I saw Bjorn asked about Jazz. Has he got a new club yet? There's no news officially. I've heard a lot of rumors that he is going to Manly. But there's been no official confirmation from Jazz, the Warriors, or Manly. So I'm assuming it's going to be, Manly are in the finals hunt. I think it'll be a announcement after their season's done, type deal potentially. I don't know. They might be just waiting until the season's over for the Warriors too, potentially.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. And then the last bits before we get into Pacific Cup, the Cowboys have sacked assistant coach James Maloney effective immediately after he was caught driving under the influence. He said he came out and he said he was disappointed about the news and that he was not excessively over the limit, which is more of a red flag for me. Then that might be why they fired him if he has that type of attitude to it. That's not really the message you want to put across. Going, I failed, but it was only just. So,
look, it's not like these guys don't know the situation, what their job requires, not just as on the pitch, but more so in the media. And if you know that you lose your job, if you're caught drinking, just don't drink when you drive. Pretty simple. If you're driving, don't have a beer. It's not difficult, folks. And there's all these 0 alcohol beers if you don't want to look like if you get them to pour into a glass behind the bar so no one can see it, and it looks like you're drinking. Go for it, boys. But look, there are ways and means, and it's just dumb. Sorry.
Just drink a coffee like I do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is what it is. I feel I might have said maybe I feel the effective immediately is due to maybe there's been other things that haven't come to light, and also potentially just due to the attitude of being caught. You're
about to head into finals. So from that point of view, do you really want to be ditching a coach that's doing a good job is heading into finals? No, you keep him around for a couple of weeks and then say, sorry, mate, you've got to go. So you're quite right. This one, it reeks. There are a whole bunch of red flags here that say this wasn't the only reason.
Yeah, Bjorn said if only his name was Greg Inglis. Yeah, I think if it was a player, that doesn't happen. I think if it's a player, they do something else to keep him around. But in theory, it depends. There would be a fine.
Again, how good are you? How much are you worth to the club? Unfortunately, these things do matter and all this stuff. And then you put him on an alcohol awareness rehabilitation kind of course as well.
And then next one we've got, the NRL has rejected the Rabbitohs' request to have Latrell Mitchell serve his 1-match game suspension this week. advising that the medical evidence to prove that he could be cleared to play was not satisfactory, and his ban would be round 1 of next year unless they decide to let him use the Indigenous game as his ban. But we won't know if that happens until next year. So you wouldn't have been aware of it. He got his, for the white powder situation, he got a big fine and a 1-match ban.
Yeah, we mentioned this last week, I think. Yep.
Yeah, the Rabbitohs wanted to name him in their extended bench this week so they could then use that this week as his ban. Say, like, he could play. But yeah, basically the NRL were like, we want to look at the medical records. Can he train? Can he play? Apparently he couldn't train. The best he could do was get on a bicycle. So it seemed it was worth a shot, you know.
No, it wasn't. I mean, look, this smacks of the club not taking this seriously. Look, a 1-match ban for white substance is a bad look at the end of the day anyway.
Yeah. So I was going to say it makes it look like the NRL doesn't take it seriously either with only a 1-game ban.
Well, true. It should have been a longer ban, and for them to try and get out of it, it just tells you the character of the club. That's not good.
Yeah, and then the last one before we get into signings in the Pacific Cup, the Warriors announced not that long ago the name of their bar. Are you ready, Paul?
Okay.
So the name of their bar is Full-Time Sports Bar and Eatery. Yeah. That's the look I had when I saw it. Apparently, there was a lot of. They asked the members and the fans to submit names, and then they basically pulled the names they liked, and then their higher council or whatever they want to call it picked the one that they felt was best. This was the one they went with. I'm not a fan personally. I can see it as a suitable name for a sports bar.
Yep.
A sports bar owned by the Warriors, you'd want to kind of have it a bit more linked, I would think. But yeah, it is what it is. It still looks like a cool little place that I'll probably never go to. Because it's in Kingsland and I don't like traveling very far from my nest here, Paul.
Look, I live in Waihi. I live like a 2-hour drive from Auckland. I'm unlikely to go very often. You actually live in Auckland. You go like, yeah, what? So yes, this is the bar that's going to be at in Kingsland. That's actually on the street. Is a sports bar. Yeah. I guess it comes down to how you're marketing it. Is this a Warriors sports bar? Or is this a sports bar that just happens to be owned by the Warriors as a financial investment? And it smacks of the latter, right? If you want to make this actually the Warriors fans' home, you go for the Sean Johnson bar or something like that. Obviously, you ask the player first if he wants to be associated with alcohol. But you go that, or you go along something along the lines of what was the year they made the final? You name it after that year. Make it something that's Warriors related. And you can make some Warriors related that doesn't scream Warriors to non-Warriors fans, right? So you make it what was it, 2011? What was the year that the Warriors made the final?
The last one was 2011.
Yeah, so hey, woo! My knowledge. So for my point, call it the 2011 or something. Or the Mark Roberts is only going to open after the game finishes. No, it's on Kingsland. It's not in the ground. It's actually miles away from the ground. It's nowhere near the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be open 7 days. It's basically going to be open 7 days a week. I went on to their website. Their grand opening is the 26th of this month. And then they already had some sporting events like boxing, UFC, the NRL Grand Final, like marquee sporting events that they're going to be there for and whatnot. Cameron George talked about it at the forum last week as well. Like they've gone all out to make it an enjoyable place.
You apply for your media VIP pass for the grand opening, right?
Man, I can't even get a media pass for the interviews at the Warriors game.
Right?
I asked.
Really? This year?
Not this year. I asked and they said They didn't even reply last time I asked, so I was like, "Well, bugger it."
So the Bjorn says, when I go to Auckland for work, I have to go. How far is it from the city? Okay, well, if you talk the CBD, Britomart, it's like what, 5 stops on the train, something like that. But actually, from an Uber ride, it'll cost you what, $5-7, something like that, to get there. It's not very.
Yeah.
It's relatively central. It's just south of the motorway that runs through the centre of the city. Look, it is central from that point of view. During the Rugby World Cup, which, sorry to talk about that, folks, but during the Rugby World Cup, they had fans walking from the centre of town to Eden Park, which is where this effectively is. So it's walking distance to the centre of town. It's not far at all.
You can walk anywhere. I walked from Eden Park to Western Springs. The first year, the Nines were at Eden Park because that weekend they had the Nines on and Eminem was performing at Western Springs. So I had to do both on the same day. And
they've done things like, again, you say they've done walking things between those two locations where they've had events on that people go to both. But yeah, it's not actually as Bjorn says, lock it in. Work pays anyway. Yeah, lock it in for invite Brad along as well if it's on work, if it's on the work account.
They have to bring it to East Auckland for that. I don't travel, Paul.
So, you don't travel for free beer and free food. My God,
no, don't travel for nothing.
Look, I mean, it's a bit of a nothing name, right? It's smacking of being a sports bar that happens to be owned by the Warriors rather than the Warriors fans' home.
Yeah, we'll see how. I'm sure it'll do well. Maybe I don't know. As someone who doesn't really go to the bar scenes anymore, I don't know what type of turnover they're expecting. I know it's a busy area. So yeah, as long as it's a good experience and not too bougie and really expensive, they should get some people in there.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, they've chosen the right location. You either choose kind of like the Viaduct, K Road, or Kingsland, really. And those are your three kind of going out places. So look, it's in the right kind of place. I say it's just whether you're trying to make it that piece. That was all that thing. It's
oh yeah, we'll see. I could be twisted. I could be twisted. But yeah, so we'll move on. I said last week the draw for the Pacific Cup and Pacific Bowl were announced, but due to us having a later start date, I didn't want to put all the details in, so I've grabbed it all now. So the Pacific Cup is going to be between the Kangaroos, Tonga, and the Kiwis. Pacific Bowl is between Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and Cook Islands. And moving forward, there's going to be promotion relegation system in place rather than just having those teams always there. So I guess third place in Pacific Cup goes down. The winner of the Pacific Bowl moves up, which I'm fine with. I've got the draw. So the 18th of October, Kangaroos Tonga. 19th, Fiji, Papua New Guinea. 26th, Fiji versus Cook Islands. 27th, Kiwis, Kangaroos. 2nd of November, Kiwis, Tonga. 3rd of November, Papua New Guinea, Cook Islands. And then on the 10th, we have the finals for both. We normally say Kangaroos, Kiwis, Fiji, Papua New Guinea. We've been proven wrong before, though. And Mark said for the bar, I think it's just one way to help them recoup the money that they lost being Aussie for so long. It's a way to diversify. The teams in Australia have the leagues clubs that are full of pokie machines that help them, where with our rules and regulations, the Warriors can't do that here. So it's something. And Bjorn said then one team travels to play the Poms each year on a random rotation, right? I was going to say, but this is the second year in a row Samoa have gone to England because they went to England last season as well. So that could just be a thing where Samoa would rather go to the UK and play England than have to play the Kangaroos and Kiwis, potentially.
Well, Samoa would be in the Pacific Bowl to start off with, right?
Yeah, I would say Samoa did really well in the World Cup, and they've got a pretty good team, especially when you throw the likes of Roger in there now. But
Sure, but if we look at the
Tonga
women's,
are better.
we look at the women's competition. So the women's competition, the Pacific Cup, is the Jillaroos, Kiwi Ferns, and the PNG Orchids. So that's Papua New Guinea is in the cup there.
Yeah,
whereas and Mark Roberts says that Tonga went last year, not Samoa.
Yeah, that was my bad. See, they all look the same to me, Paul. They're all from South Auckland, like me.
Yay!
So,
let's get cancelled. Go, Brad.
Tonga and Samoa.
Yeah, red and blue. They're different kind of jerseys. Anyway,
yeah.
Pacific Bowl for that crowd for the women. Sorry, is the Cook Islands, Cook Islands, Moana, Fetu, Samoa, Fiji. And I'm sorry about this, folks. By Kula and Tonga 13. So in that situation, in that one, they've got the PNG has made the cup as opposed to Fiji. So
yeah, they're a stronger outfit in that one. And then like Jacko said, knowing how league treats internationals, the plan will likely be different next year. Yeah, I'm actually surprised we've got a second year of this after they did the big announcement last year. I kind of expected them to be one and done and go, look at what we did with the internationals. Now look at Origin again, please. So I'm hoping they stick it out. I think the moment that the Kiwis belted the Kangaroos in that final, I thought that was going to be the death of it. Because the Kangaroos would much rather never play than risk losing, because that's just the way they are. But yeah, hopefully these the good games. They got obviously Kiwis Tongas at Mount Smart, Kangaroos Kiwis is in Christchurch. So at least we're getting a couple of games here. The finals are both in Australia, since they had the finals here last year. So yeah.
Well, look, it's the fact that there's continuity. If you want to actually build one of these things up, it takes time, right? Just doing one-off things doesn't work. You do need to take time over the so yeah, great that they are doing that. So it's continue. Move on.
So we'll move on to the signings. So we kind of already mentioned it a bit, but Royce Hunt has signed a 3-year deal to join the Tigers next season. The Sharks granted him an early release. They've got Adam Fanua-Blake coming in, so one of their big boppers had to kind of be moved on, and Royce really wanted to stay, and this year was really playing like it. I thought he's been one of the better props. But I think he also has the biggest upside for the Tigers out of the ones that were there. So I've seen it in the Warriors social media pages when some people ask the question, is that a guy the Warriors should have targeted? And people have rubbished it, going, no, he's rubbish. I actually personally really like him and think he's a good player. If you take your glasses off and don't try to compare him to, like, Adam Fanua-Blake's leaving and you bring him in, they're not the same. He's a good, 20, 30-minute physical prop, where Adam Fanua-Blake's a 60, 70-minute physical prop. They're two different beasts. But I think he's a great pickup for the Tigers. Especially, as we said, if they can get Corey Horsburgh as well, replacing Stefano and Papali'i, who's leaving the Tigers. That's actually a hell of a pickup. Your thoughts on Royce Hunt, Paul?
This isn't the same Hunt that was that left the Warriors, is it? Who happens to be bouncing around clubs? No, so no, nothing to say. I have no idea about him, but good luck to him in his new and because that's what Tigers is not an environment that's been a place where you normally do perform. It's an environment where you go and play worse. So good luck to him there. And that's improving.
They're changing the culture there, Paul. You watch. Tigers are coming back. And yeah, Jagger said Hunt's a very good player, tough and durable, but he is 29, so we don't really need him. Yeah, I was looking at it as a luxury, and when I had that thought, it was before James Fisher-Harris was announced. But I think the young guys the Warriors have definitely shown they can do what Royce would probably do for the Warriors for a lot cheaper. So, but great for the Tigers. Then we've got 2 extensions. Ruben Cotter's extended with the Cowboys until the end of 2028, and Jermaine Hopgood's extended with the Eels until the end of 2027. So both kind of no-brainers. They're very talented players, been playing well for those teams, so it makes sense that they're going to stick around. Anything else you want to add to that, Paul?
No.
All right, so we'll go into injuries. Now you'll see why the Roosters coach was so unhappy. So Sam Walker from the Roosters, their halfback, he has ruptured his ACL and is out for 6 to 9 months. Brandon Smith did his MCL and ACL, looks around the same time, 6 to 9 months. And Victor Radley from the Roosters as well, fractured his scapula and potentially could be back for finals, but they said they're not 100%. So yeah, some big outs for the Roosters that basically changed my prediction of how deep into the finals they'll go.
As it, so sorry, folks, I've got a bad connection for some reason.
It's because you're in Waihi, Paul. Can you hear me? All right, I can keep going. So yeah, massive blow for the Roosters there. And then Seagulls also got some unfortunate problems too. Tom Travojevic and Jason Saab are both out. Tom Travojevic with an AC joint injury should return for the first week of finals. And Jason Saab's high ankle sprain, they're going to take it from week to week. So very disappointing for the Seagulls there, but if they can get both of those guys back for the finals, they could stir some waters. And then Jordan Rapana, fractured cheekbone. It's to be determined, but Ricky Stewart basically said he thinks Rapana's played his last game for the Raiders because the chances of them making finals relies on a lot of things going their way. And Bjorn said Roosters have a great squad, so a good backup. I know Paul's internet struggling. He might be back now. I forgot to mention in the news. It's an interesting name on the extended bench for the Roosters with a lot of noise that this guy could make his debut this week. Mark, the rugby union player, Mark Nawakatazi.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's played 3 games in reserve grade since joining the club. And
yep.
They reckon he potentially could be named to start for the Roosters, which would be interesting to see how he goes up with the big boys. So,
yeah, I expect him to wing or fullback. I don't see him playing anywhere else.
Yeah, well, they need some outside backs at the moment too. So, so we'll move on to Naughty Boys. Elliot Whitehead, the man that hurt one of those players from the Roosters, he got a grade 3 dangerous contact. Plus 2 grade 1 charges, including one where he kung fu kicked the ball trying to kick it out of someone's hand. He got a 3 to 4 week ban, which is his NRL career over. Yeah, people said 10 off bit terrible. Yeah, I have to make sure I turn things like that off before we jump on too.
Allegedly.
Yeah, so 3 to 4 week ban, his NRL career is done. Xavier Willinson from the Broncos, he got a grade 2 careless high tackle. He's got a 1-match ban. So that's his season done because the Broncos aren't making the finals now. And then Bronson Terry from the Bulldogs, he got a 1-match ban for a grade 2 dangerous contact. There wasn't anything too major this week, Paul. Elliot Whitehead with his 3 issues, 2 sin bins, you kind of knew he was in trouble. And yeah, the other 2 what we expect this time of year. Keep that thug life later because I've got one about the Warriors game, which might get me in trouble with Warriors fans. But yeah, that was it for all of that. So I'll quickly go through the round 6 results for the ladies before we go into the round. So the Sharks defeated the Titans 22-6. Dragons defeated the Eels 42-14. Knights defeated the Tigers 34-6. Broncos defeated the Cowboys 38-12. And my Roosters and good old Millie got back on track, beating the Raiders 34-20. So that is it for that. We'll go into round 26. I'm going to have to say all these names, aren't I? Damn it.
No. I'm ready. I'm ready to. I'm
Oh,
ready
you
to
ready?
step in,
Are you
Richie.
going to say?
I am. I'm going to go. So
All
yeah.
right. So
We opened up the round with the Cowboys taking on the Storm. 18-16 at halftime, and the Cowboys held on to win 38 to 30. Tries for 2 tries for Felt, Tuolangi, Holmes, Robinson, and Nanai on the for the Cowboys, with Holmes kicking all his conversions and penalty goals, so perfect from the tee. The Storm, we had Valaipu, McDonald, 2 for Wilshaw, Lisati, and Wilshaw got 4 out of 5 of his conversions. Brad, how do you think the Cowboys went?
Wishat. He's Australian. They say it how it looks. They're not as fancy. Yeah, so you obviously don't have notes, so we can go through these quick. We're just going through mine. A solid enough outing for the Cowboys here. They put together some nice attacking sets with Kyle Felt and Valentine Holmes, giving everything they have before, leaving the club at the end of the season. A nice win to keep their momentum building. However, I would be concerned with the defense and allowing understrength Storm side, with all their kids playing, basically almost stealing this one at the death. For the Storm, not a bad effort from the Storm, with most of their big names rested and Pappenhausen getting injured early on. They showed plenty of spirit and showed the potential the youngsters have. Still a big favourite for me to go all the way this season.
Yeah, and look, I mean, considering the Storm brought in so many players, the fact they led the errors 15 to 13 is good for them. Whereas Cowboys, yeah, if you got your first team out, you shouldn't be that shouldn't be a problem. So my player of the game was Tyron Wilshart.
Wishart. It's how it says it. How it says it.
Tyron Wishart got 93 points in the offensive. Not Murray Tuolangi, who led for the Cowboys with 46. 93 on the losing side. That's good.
Yeah, I went with Wishart as well. He got the double. 5 conversions out of 6. Or 5 kicks out of 6 because 1 was a penalty. He had a stack of tackles too. He was really playing well. So, yeah, I was hoping I'd get this because I knew everyone was going to pick the Cowboys. But I got it wrong. So we'll move on to Friday, Paul.
Yep, so Bulldogs against the Sea Eagles. Sea Eagles could took control of this in the first half at leading 12 to 24 at half-time and maintained that lead to win 22 to 34. Tries for Sab, Tom Travojevic, Hopper 8, Lawton, another one for Hopper 8, and Garrick. Garrick was also 5 from 6 from the tee and conversions. For the Bulldogs, Mahoney, Adokar, Preston, Mahoney again on the tries. And Matt Burton got 2 and Tommy Sexton 1 on the old conversions. I don't know who actually missed. I'm guessing Sexton, but that would be a guess for me. On this one, Cowboys, their first home loss of the season. So, Brad, what did the Sea Eagles do so well?
Manly just came to play with a strong first half, almost attacking at will. The early exit of Tommy Turbo took away some of the attacking spark, but others stepped up in his place. They just applied plenty of pressure on the Bulldogs and refused to let them take control. A well-deserved win. Second time the Bulldogs have lost at home this year. The first one official, though. After the Warriors beat them, or should have beaten them, besides that penalty. But yeah, it was just all about pressure. And it's where the Bulldogs crumbled. As we already said, they're no longer undefeated at home, and this game was actually why I don't expect them to be in the finals long. They wilted under the pressure, as I just said about Manly. They made schoolboy errors, and when push came to shove, their renowned defense was exposed in this game. Perhaps it's the wake-up call they needed just before finals to realize that despite being a good side, they may not be as good as they thought they were. And we'll need to work hard in the finals to be successful.
34 missed tackles and 25 from the Eagles. Not good. My player was Ruben Garrick for the Eagles with 66 fantasy points. Jacob Preston did top the fantasy points for the Bulldogs on 79. But yeah, you got to say Garrick, to me, led it for the Eagles.
Yeah, and Jacko and Bjorn, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it, but they both picked it up. Dogs have been found out because they lack muscle in the middles, and Manly just went through the middle all night, unlike other teams. That's exactly what I said the Warriors needed to do in Sean's last game at home, because the Bulldogs don't have a pack. If you can, bully them up the middle, that everything falls apart, and no one's done that to the Bulldogs at home this year. So yeah, the first ones that do it are the ones that get away with the win. So, and yeah, my player was Hopewadi. He got a double. He's shown a lot of talent at his young age, and should be a big name for them going forward. Next game, Paul.
So Panthers up against the Rabbitohs. 18-6 at half time, but really blew out in the second half, where Panthers led 34-12 at the end there. Fisher Harris got one, Garner, Schroeder, Taruva got two, and Yeo on the tries, with Alamotti with 5 from 6 on the old conversions. For the Rabbitohs, it was a double for Munro, and Myers was perfect from the tee with 2 conversions there, but they did get the sin and binning of
Kalabatangi. Yeah, I'll help you out there. A typical Panthers performance, really, to be honest. Forwards just created the go forward and the back scored off it. Their consistency is scary, and it's what every NRL team dreams they could do. Cleary's returns just around the corner, just in time for finals. And it makes it look like a Storm Panthers finals almost inevitable, unless someone really slips on a banana peel in the finals. For the Rabbits, they were just outplayed. Simple as that. Still made a lot of errors, but the reset time is almost upon them. Massive shout out. I didn't want to mention the news, so I mention it here. The guy who got the double, Tyrone Munro, he lost his mother during the week. The day before the game, his uncle also passed away. He was given the choice to go home or play if he wanted. He wanted to play and had one of the best games he's had in his short career to date. So it was really nice to see, and the emotion everyone had when he scored. And also credit to Brian To'o, his opposition winger. He actually had Tyrone Mother's name written on his wristband in a show of support and a show of respect. So we always talk a lot about the Panthers and some of their players that are a bit too cocky. Brian To'o's not one of them. He's always come across as a very humble man. So it's making me emotional, Paul. But yeah.
Oh, very cool. But again, is it cocky if you deliver?
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, in this situation, for him to be able to get things together and play well in a game that they were never
fantastic for Monroe. Thoughts with him, and hope he and his family. Look, that's tough for that to happen in a week. My comment, they say, was more tongue in cheek about the Panthers. But yeah, well, good on him. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes one of the things to one of the ways is one of the things good things is to take your mind off it for a couple of hours, which is what a game is. So it allowed him to take his mind off it, and he can get around to grieving properly afterwards. And then maybe turning up to work this week will also help him have his rugby family around him.
I'm a Warriors fan. My grieving time is that 80 minutes. Normally this, yeah. You're probably not the fantasy leaders there.
You're being sincere for a little bit, and you go and screw it up. There we go.
Well, you stopped my sincerity with your little joke, so I had to double down. I went with Osei Yo as my my player of the game, but who was the fantasy leaders?
My favorite, my player of the game was also Osei Yo, who happened to get 85 points in the fantasy.
Well, there you go.
Damien Cook led for the Rabbitohs, by the way, with 52.
Yeah, so we'll go to the next game, Paul. This was the game I was talking to you about before we kicked off.
So a lot of the away fans would have gone home at half time when the Eels were leading 26-6. But a late comeback by the Dragons meant they nearly stole it with 44-40 at the end. It would have been a travesty. The Eels with tries from, and sit back, folks. This is going to take a while. Penasini, Sivo, Gutherson, Targo, Lane, Brown, Gutherson again, and Sivo with a double at the end there. Assi was piss poor from the kicking team with only 4 from 9. In all honesty, this should not have been close. The Dragons with Hysene, Lomax, Fayangi with a triple, and Sloan with a double. Lomax much better from the tee with 6 from 7 there. So 9 tries to 7, and yet it's a 4-point game. Look, kicking nearly killed the Eels in this one. But massive comeback from the Dragons just in the last sort of 10 minutes, 4 to 11 minutes, really.
Yeah. So it was, despite almost slipping on the banana peel at the end, it was perhaps one of the best wins of the season for the Eels, which isn't saying much. They needed that win to keep up with the Tigers, to try and avoid the spoon, and they wouldn't be denied here. Put together some nice attacking sets, but switched off with 10 to go when they assumed the win was secured and almost lost. If they play like they did in the first 70 this week, they should avoid the spoon. They play like they did in the last 10, that spoon's going to them. I wanted to see them lose here, Paul, for the simple fact that when time was running out, they took Clint Gutherson off. You know, like what you do when you comfortably won a game and you can take a guy off to rest him, get ready for next week. And then the Dragons started coming back, and it was like, you saw they had video of Gutherson on the sidelines, like on the edge of his seat. And it's like, this could be like the big coaching stuff up, taking off one of your players, and then it all capitulates. But it didn't. And like you said, if they'd bloody kicked their goals, there would have been nothing in it. I did it last week. I'll do it again, Paul. Will Evans from This Warrior's Life. I was listening to one of his podcasts last night. This is now the record for the highest points scored by the losing team, 40 points. And go listen to his podcast, because he actually breaks down all the ones that had been the record before this. He's super into his stats. But yeah, new record for the Dragons. They've scored the most points as a losing side.
Which obviously means Brad loves this, because it's a losing record for
the Dragons. That will be very hard to beat.
Over 62 missed tackles in this game.
Yeah,
another 34 ineffective tackles between them. Defense optional at times.
And I'll talk about the Dragons now. Don't let me avoid talking about this. Shocking display from the Dragons side. This was a team fighting for a final spot. They really, and I think, to be honest, they just took the Eels way too lightly. Far too error prone. Didn't bother to show up until that final 10 minutes. 5 tries from the 69th minute, 4 tries in that 10-minute period at the end. Made the scoreline look very flattering, and it would have been a hell of a finish if they got the win. But to be honest, they got what they deserved here. 8 errors
Jackos, 13 by the Eels. By the Dragons. And what did Flano say in his post-match presser that Jacko's referring to?
He was just not very happy with his side, and there was footage of him having a go at Ben Hunt in the changing rooms. No, not very happy, which sparked up lots more rumors about Ben Hunt once again not wanting to be a Dragon anymore. All after one game, it was a terrible game, but I could understand if you put us in that situation. If it was the Warriors sitting in 8th, a win basically almost secures your finals chance. You're playing the second worst team on the ladder. You should beat them, but then the Warriors lost to the Eels, so we've suffered that too. But we didn't. We almost won at the end, like the Dragons almost did. Team Max said to score 40 and they still lose, they don't deserve to be in the 8. Yeah, they didn't deserve it.
It doesn't come down to one game, but anyway. Look, I mean, Ben Hunt missed 2 tackles, 2 ineffective tackles, but Max Fayangi missed 4 tackles in this one. So I don't know which who you really want to go after, whether he was the worst. Ben
Hunt's their leader. I think it was more the leadership side of things that he was concerned with.
Yeah, but Max Fayangi, tackles made 2, missed 4.
Well, that's not a good stat.
That's not a good stat. His centre partner, his brother Matthew, didn't help himself, made one tackle, missed two as well. So I mean, yeah, go through those centres, boys. Don't go through the big boys in the middle who got through. I mean, had a lot of work. I mean, Jack de Beelin, 47 tackles, only missed two, so forth. 63 off the bench for Connor Mulhausen. But yeah. So as far as player of the game, though, Mika Sivo with 89 fantasy points. Tyrrell Sloan did get 95 points for the Dragons, but Mika Sivo on the winning side here.
Yeah, I went with Sivo. I thought he had a good game. Got a hat trick, and that's our rule generally. If you score a hat trick and you win, I go with you. So we'll move on to the next game, adding to my beautiful Saturday.
So yeah, moving on to the next game, Dolphins versus the Broncos. Dolphins had a good lead at halftime at 24-6, but they really did. Boy, oh boy, did they smash it in the second half, not allowing the Broncos to get any points to lead 40-6. Maybe, yes, they were playing at Suncorp, the Broncos' home, so maybe they converted some fans over to the red. We'll wait and see. But tries for Ozako, 2 for Avarillo. Tabia Fidel also got 2. Farnworth also got 2. So 3 people getting 2 there. And Izako didn't fail off the tee with 6 from 7. Patrick Carrigan got the only try for the Broncos, with Stags getting the conversion. 2 sin bins, 1 for Kaifa Usi and 1 for Willison, Xavier Willison as well into this one.
Yeah, both teams had a shot at the finals with a win here, and perhaps the Dolphins had a score to settle with Kevy Walters, the Broncos coach, throwing barbs in interviews all week. A few too many errors. I just saw Bjorn's comment.
Those of you on the podcast, folks, Bjorn's comment is, I never thought I'd see a day where Brad pronounces names better than the co-host. Look, I'm sorry, folks. 2 things are okay. They're excuses rather than reasons, or maybe they're reasons as well. I didn't grow up with hearing these sounds, be able to read these things, and also I am actually dyslexic, as in clinically dyslexic. So hence, reading it is a nightmare. But yes, I try.
It's fine. Yes,
sorry.
I give you 100% for your effort. There's people that say it just as bad as you. They get paid to talk about it. So
you don't have to apologise at all. I get it. It is fun. I'm just sorry. It's not meant as disrespectful, folks. That's what I guess that was my only point.
Yeah, a few too many errors from the Dolphins. But the X Factor backs picked the right game to show up, basically. The return of Jeremy Marshall-King helped and added some direction to the attack, and they may increase their odds of being successful in finals if they make it now that he's back. He got 50 minutes in this game, so I'm expecting, touch wood, that he doesn't hurt himself again, that he can get through 80 this week. But yeah, always happy to see a team humble the Broncos. So congratulations to the Dolphins. Their finals hopes all come down to the final match of the season this week, and an effort like this could get them across the line. I'll fill you in a bit more about the barbs from Kevy Walters. So he's the Broncos coach. He's been doing nothing but say, we will play finals. That's his mantra. He refused to call the Dolphins the Dolphins. He keeps calling them Redcliffe, which isn't their name. So it was childish stuff from a guy throwing barb. The one thing, the golden rule is you don't throw ammo in presses when you're going up against Wayne Bennett, because his teams always seem to find a way to back up when you're throwing shade. And yeah, that's what I meant to say. Kevin Walter's been humbled by Bennett, must hurt that extra more. Yeah, for the Broncos to basically have this season squashed by Wayne Bennett, of all people, is just really twisting the knife. But for the Broncos, abysmal effort. Just like the Dragons in the game before, the season was on the line, but unlike the Dragons, they had nothing in the tank towards the end of the match. And to make it a contest, they had no heart, no desire, and they have to be up there in conversation for biggest disappointments of 2024. I know that's throwing a stone in a glass house as a Warriors fan, but This was a team that was like 10 minutes away from winning the grand final last year to, getting eliminated from even being in the finals by 40-6. Yeah. And
look, the stats back this up. Okay, it wasn't just on the scoreboard with like lucky tries and stuff. Time of possession 58% to 42%. This is very much unlike Union where possession can do that. That is not. You're talking about 1 or 2% difference normally, not what is that? That's not 16% difference. That's massive. Time in possession as well. By the Dolphins, meant the Broncos spent a lot of time on defense. The Broncos had an absolute shocker. They trailed in every single attacking stat. Didn't get close in any of them really. This was a demolition by the Dolphins, and good on them.
All right. I'm interrupting.
My player was Herbie Farnworth. 110 points. Geez, I mean, to get over 100 is massive. Honourable mention to Payne House with 91 fantasy points in this one. How you get 91 fantasy points from a team that only scores 6? That takes some doing.
A lot of work. Herbie Farnworth, it would have been extra sweet for him. He was in that Broncos grand final team last year. So being able to do that was B2. And I'm interrupting the show.
That's on the losing side. He doesn't want to be putting all that work in and not make the not make the finals. But look, there's a guy who actually that's the kind of guy you want in your squad, who, when you're being thrashed, still puts the effort in.
Yeah, and during the show, the girlfriend messaged me and said she's watching, I assume. She said she will drive me to full-time since I refuse to leave my bubble. So she can take me outside of my shell, is her words. So thank you for watching.
So Bjorn, just name the time and place, and Brad's even got a designated driver, so he can even have as many as he likes. Brilliant. Let's work that Amex card.
Yeah, and I went with Herbie Farnworth too. Thought it was great, and like Jacob said, Bronx have a serious problem. They're not a unified squad. That's been a lot of the talk this week. I think they were even mentioning when Pat Carrigan scored his try, one guy celebrated with him, as opposed to the whole team being there. And that was 24 minutes in, so they weren't completely out of the game at that point. They
were behind, but that got them back into the game. Right? It was 2 tries to 1.
It was 12-6 at that point. So they were right in it. So that's what it is. I feel like they're the typical, the show ponies, as they like to call. When everything's going sweet, they'll love to tell you, but when things are going bad, we saw. Remember, Paul, it was very early in our career on this show when they got the wooden spoon and their fans responded by throwing wooden spoons onto the field and stuff. So
look,
it's what you expect.
That shows that's a great way to protest. You're not there's no turning over cars and putting them on lights and rioting.
You turn over cars when you win, Paul.
But I thought throwing the spoons on. I loved that. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Speaking of loving it, we'll go on to the main event on Saturday.
So at halftime it was 22-4 to the Sharks, and game over. Most people switching off, but no, the Warriors come back to win this one 28-30. So a fantastic comeback by the Warriors. Tries for Metcalf, a double for
triple
Zelensky. Save me.
DWZ,
thank you. Chance also got a try. Montoya, and 3 for DWZ. Sean Johnson tries to derail the whole thing by only getting 3 conversions out of 6 and missing a field goal as well. Yeah. So whilst Brad says that the show title was SJ bows out in style, I think it was SJ saved by the Warriors, by the teams in this last one. For the Sharks, Wilton, Iro, Stone Street, Hazelton, and Stone Street again got the tries. So it's 5 tries to 6, but only a 2-point game. Braden Trindle could have sent this to overtime if he'd got that final conversion. 4 out of 5, so close on that one. Thank you for correction there.
Yeah, from Jacko. I was going, but I was letting him dig his own grave with the SJ hate.
Kalen Iro was was sin binned for the Sharks on 60 minutes. Was that the turning point? Because I can see there were 2 tries whilst he was off the pitch for the Warriors.
Yeah, it was the turning point. I don't think it was a sin bin. I understand it, and I was very happy for it. The ref basically explained that it wasn't the action that he did wasn't what he was sin bin for. It was the fact that the Sharks were getting very niggly, and there was a lot of like high shots they were getting penalized for, and this was just like the final warning, despite the ref not saying next one's off. He didn't give them that warning. And it was a situation Dallin was running down the sideline and slipped, and as he slipped, the try-saving tackle was coming, and it was high. I would have been happy with a penalty. The girlfriend's watching at home. She knows that that's not what I was saying when we were watching it live. Watching the replay, but it's a sin bin due to the fact that that's what a sin bin's been all year. So I can see that. But if it was the other way, if it was a Warriors player in that situation, I'd be up here complaining, saying that shouldn't have been a sin bin. And we kind of knew a sin bin was going to get given to us rightly or wrongly after the missed one last week. So we kind of had that one in the pocket that the NRL were going to give us one back. But the Warriors started strong. They switched off for a tad in a way which made me think the game was over early in that first half. It was around the 20-minute mark to the 40-minute mark. It kind of all went pear-shaped. But they did the impossible for the second year in a row, if you can remember, Paul, against the Sharks in Sydney last year. They were down by a massive score at halftime and won the game. So they did it again. AFB led from the front. The backs were running with purpose, and SJ put on a vintage display. Season's not gone the way we wanted, but I couldn't think of a better way for the season to end and SJ's final game to end. Like, I know you just said about his conversions. They don't win that game without SJ, regardless. Like the way he got to the press match for the first time in his career, he did the post match with the coach. He's never done it. And he talked about the step-by-step. The finished play that scored the match winner was already thought of, and they had like 2 or 3 plays to get to that point. So he was explaining how they get up the field, which was a real good insight for a dumb prop like me. But yeah, it was like he said, his teammates were kind of giving him stick out on the field, saying you don't want your career to end with a footy highlight, a touch footy highlight, which was basically what it was. But yeah, it was fantastic. I really wanted to see him win his final game at Mount Smart. We didn't get that to happen, but I was willing to pay whatever it took to let him have at least his last game of his career a win. I really didn't want to see him go out on like a losing streak. So it was great to see. And some of the Sharks fans were disappointed with the result, but you saw a lot of them there were showing their respect to him after the game, which was great. And yeah, Manta said the post-match conference was the most viewed on the Fox NRL YouTube channel. Yeah, and it went for like 15 minutes. He really took his time in the last one. And yeah, I thought it was just it was a great 60 minutes. If you take that 20-minute chunk where the Sharks scored all their points, it was the best game the Warriors have played in a long time. But yeah, that 20 minutes, they just switched off, which was a concern. But at least they switched back on. Also, if you remember, Paul, the last 2 games before this, the Warriors hadn't scored a single point in the second half. So they went from 2 second half shutouts to scoring 5 tries in the second half. But yeah, and I think Bjorn said Metcalf's brought a lot to the team in the last 2 weeks. We've missed him this season. Yeah, it would have been great to see what the Warriors could have done if he didn't get injured early on. It's one of the many what-ifs of this year. But yeah, we can't live on what-ifs, unfortunately. And Bjorn said with the game 1, Jazz should have taken the last kick. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen them do that. There was no way they were going to lose it with the missed conversion at that point. They may have just decided they didn't want to do it to him right on the sideline. But yeah, and Amanda said the haka between the Kiwis from both clubs was very honourable. and made me emotional. Yeah, it was great to see the Warriors and Sharks Kiwis boys give them a haka on the way out. There was another team though, so I want to talk about them before we go on. The Sharks blew this match, basically. They looked like world beaters for that 20 minutes that I talked about, but they were just too ill-disciplined, which left the door open for the Warriors. Perhaps they switched off at halftime with such a big lead, but you just can't do that in the NRL, and I'm still picking them to go out in straight sets in the finals. They are the least feared top four side, as we're saying. Yeah, and T-Max said, I thought us Warriors fans are sore losers. We have nothing on the Sharkies fans. Watch the ET stand podium after the game. At least you're still top four boys. Yeah. Yeah, you get every fan base.
Thrown away the game like this, which at 22-4, they have done, right? You should close it out from there. You can understand why the fans are upset with this game. My player, I'm going for Adam Flewer-Blake as the man of the match with 60 fantasy points. Sean Johnson did top it with 77, but not.
I'm going SJ.
I'm sorry.
Cameron
McKine's top for the Sharks was 60. Also got 60 as well.
Sean, he got all but one of the tries the Warriors scored. Sean Johnson set up, and he's allowed to miss a couple of kicks in his last game. He's old. Be different occasion if they lost because of the goal kicking, but yeah. And I heard a lot of Sharks fans before we move on, Paul. They were complaining about all the penalties, saying like they were all, 50-50 kind of calls that went the Warriors' way. Basically, every penalty the Sharks got was a high shot in this game, which is very rare in the NRL to basically only get pinged for that type of behavior. And that's not a 50-50, really. It's not like a offside or things like that. So in terms of the refereeing, as critical as I've been all year, the only thing I would argue about was it worth a sin bin or not? But I think all the penalties were fair, including the ones we got, which I thought sometimes were a bit hard done by, but we had no head-high ones. Ours were all like slowing the ruck down and things like that. But yeah. Very happy. Warriors seasons. I'm happy the season's over for us, but I'm happy that that's the way it ended. So we'll move on to Sunday.
Yeah, so Sunday saw the Knights beat the Titans. They led 12-4 at half-time and finished things off nicely with 36-14 at the end of it. Kellen Ponga with a double, Fletcher Sharp with a triple, Phoenix Crossland and Leo Thompson also chipped in. Kellen Ponga a bit dodgy off the tee with 4 from 7. For the Titans, Jojo Fafita got a couple, and Jalen de Groot a try as well. Jaden Campbell also poor off the boot with just 1 from 3 on the conversions for this one. So the Knights comfortable there, trying to keep their finals hopes alive.
Yeah, they needed this win, and it was a solid display, I thought, from them. They just kept attacking the Titans and creating opportunities with plenty of second phase footy. I forgot to write the stat down, but I think they may have either passed or just under double-digit offloads in this game. They kept their errors down, which is also quite commendable if you're throwing that many offloads.
14 offloads from the Knights.
14 offloads, there you go, yeah. And they were well disciplined. They kept their penalties down quite a bit. And that all basically just ended up keeping the Titans on the back foot. It was just the type of performance they needed as they prepare for their do-or-die match against the Dolphins this week. I think going up against the Dolphins, who just thrashed the Broncos, if they had won 36-30, you might be a bit like, oh no, we conceded 30 points here, but 3 tries isn't too bad against the Titans, who are kind of known for being able to score tries. For the Titans, they didn't actually do too much wrong here, to be honest. They were just beaten by a better side. If they could fix that defensive structure, which has been an issue for them for a while, they'd be a tough team to face because they know how to score points. But yeah, they did a lot better than a lot of other teams that lost this week, I'll say. It's just the fundamentals that they get wrong. but you can see there's stuff there. You can see there's the building of a team that could be competitive, which we saw throughout the season. It's just consistency. They end their year beating the Warriors twice, and they did one of them by a fair margin. So there is a good team there, but yeah, when push comes to shove at the moment, they're just just not as good as the teams that should be finals bound.
Yep. So my player is Dylan Lucas, who the games are one up front, folks. He played 79 minutes as a forward, which is a good shift, and scored 79 fantasy points. Jaden Campbell was top with 72 fantasy points for the Titans.
I went Fletcher Sharp. He got a hat trick. So
yeah, I know you would do. So I deliberately chose something. I thought I've got a good reason to choose someone different, even though he was allowed to show off because of my player.
Yeah, fair enough. And now we'll go to the last game, the nightmare game where there was just casualties everywhere.
Casualties everywhere, and no one able to score as well. So offense really was not here. Well, look, we had the game earlier which had over 80 points. This one had under 30. 2-10 at halftime. The Raiders led this one, and they clung on to win 12-14. For the Raiders, Whitehead, Sasagi, and Savage got the tries. Adam Cook just got 1 out of 3 off of the conversions. They also picked up 2 sin bins from Elliot Whitehead, who got a try as well. So it was a big game for him. He was involved both ways. For the Roosters, Daniel Tupu got both the tries. Neither of the conversions went over, but Luke Keary did get both penalty goals over. This one finished 12-14. The Raiders getting home despite those two sin bins.
Yeah, the Raiders were very tough here. They kept their errors down and just converted a few more opportunities in what was a very close match, where it helped extremely by the injuries to some key Roosters. But Elliot Whitehead did his best to try and cost his side the match. Defense was a bit patchy, but they made the tackles that counted near the goal line. Finals dreams are over for them unless a crazy miracle happens with the Dolphins' Knights draw and a win for them this week. Or they're going to be looking at ending a high. But they're going to be looking to end their season on a high regardless. They can't control what happens in that final match, so they're just going to make sure they win. For the Roosters, their finals hopes took a massive blow here with the injuries to Walker, Smith, and Radley. With Walker out very early in this match, the Roosters struggled to play positive football with the errors starting to creep up. He's also their goal kicker, which didn't help. I had them third in my premiership contenders list, but I think they may be at risk of an early exit now.
The stats in this one are just crazy. How the Raiders managed to win this with only 40% possession. Whereas, we were talking earlier that you'd rarely get teams differing by more than 2 or 3%. The Roosters, 60% possession in this one. The Raiders missed 57 tackles.
Yeah, folks. But they got the ones that counted.
They did, and 23 ineffective tackles, whereas the Roosters only missed 30, ineffective 20. So sometimes stats don't tell the whole story, but this was a low-scoring battle. How the Raiders managed to scrape this one out, boy oh boy, they've used up all their 9 lives this weekend.
Yeah, well, the Roosters, they basically very early on, they lost their halfback, then they lost their hooker, and then they lost their lock. So 3 key figures in your, I know the lock's not normally considered in your spine, but Sam Walker's kind of been leading that team around, and you don't normally have a decent half sitting on the bench ready to replace a guy that goes off. So, but I give them credit. I still thought they were going to come back and get this one. But yeah, they're just not good enough. So yeah, as you said, it might have been the last gasp of the Raiders, which I'm sure Simon would have been happy with. But yeah, that was the round. So you can bring up the tips, which were.
Well, first off, I'm going with Joseph Tapine as the match.
Sorry, I went with Hudson Young.
With 60 points. Joseph Manu for the Roosters got 65. Houston Young that's a better call because Houston Young actually stayed on for the full 80, whereas Tapine was only on for 56 minutes. Houston Young got through 45 tackles, which is the top tackles, but he also missed 7 in this one for the Raiders. So there we go on that one.
Yeah,
So
Hudson Young for me. So yeah, tips.
Tips.
Man, there's some shocking ones, but I say shocking, but Simon and myself are the only ones who only got 2 games right. As I said to you before we went live, Paul, if I had entered no tips, I would have ended on 3. So I would have ended on more points if I hadn't have tried as opposed to trying. I didn't think I'd even picked ones that other people wouldn't get. I thought I was picking the legitimate winners, but we got the high score of 5 from MB Sports fan Tam Hayworth, who actually used it as a joker, so got 10, and the Irk. I'm still miles.
Might have saved all 3 jokers for the final 3 rounds. So trying to make a late charge there, Tam.
Yeah, exactly. Rocking Horse Road still at the top. MB Sports fan 2nd. Simon still 3rd, and Richie is 4th. Because of that bloody joker, I've been pushed down. I'm 7th now. ACT Hellcat 6th. Bjorn, you're giving me stick about my tips earlier, but I'm still above you by a decent margin in your 8th place. And Hammer, who checked out, I think, in like round 10, is 12th. But yeah, my chances of the top 4 are gone, I think, after that too. It was shocking. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm the Broncos of the tipping comp. I've been the champ for so long that I've forgotten what it is to be this far down, and I'm not taking it well, Paul.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the last ladder, or second to last ladder, I should say. We've got another ladder to talk about next week.
That is very true. So I'll take the top 8 because I can. The Storm stay at top. The Panthers climb up as both the Roosters and Sharks lost this weekend. They slipped down to 3rd and 4th. The Bulldogs, even with that loss, stick in 5th, as the Cowboys and Manly Seagulls also hold on to their places in the top 8. The Dolphins climb into the top 8 with that big win over the Broncos, meaning that their fate is in their own hands.
Yep. And then for the rest, the Knights have moved up to 9th on the same points as the Dolphins. Dragons have gone down to 10th, still on the same points as Dolphins and Knights. Raiders have moved up to 11th. Broncos have moved down to 12th. Warriors have moved up to 13th in a position they're going to keep after this week's bye as well. They can't go any higher, can't go any lower. The Titans, 14th. And then the bottom 3 are the same. Rabbits, 16th. Eels, Rabbits, 15th. Eels, 16th. Tigers, 17th. Getting ready for the big old wooden spoon bowl this week.
Yeah, 3 big games this week.
I'd say who do you think is going to make 8th? But I see we've got a question for that, so we can wait. Which is now. May as well jump into the questions. I've got a question for Richie, which I'll answer myself, but we may as well go with the questions you've been saving up.
Yeah, let's look at them. So Robbie's asked, Brad, how was your fantasy season?
Yeah, he already knows because it was his fantasy league we were in. I lost in the preliminary final, which is the final before the final. So like the semi-final basically. But I lost to the person who won it last weekend. And just as well, because my team was a very storm-heavy pool, and last week the storm rested everyone. So even if I had made it, I would have lost because I had no one to play.
Robbie also asked, Paul, would I like to join the fantasy next year and play in his league with you, Brad? Look, you
can't even say the names of the players, let alone pick ones to be in your team.
Yeah, I mean, I could do, but if I beat anybody, they should be embarrassed. But maybe I'll join in just for that, just to be the person who, if you come below me in the table, you are really, really bad.
You can be a moron and do it all right, as long as you pick some players that no one else does.
Well, okay, that's nice. So Brad goes, NRL announced their entertainment today, Kid Laurie or whatever it is. If you're in charge of who would you pick? For Bjorn, it's Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, and I think he's showing his age there. Really, yeah. Look, I mean, if if you're looking for, I guess he's talking about the entertainment at the grand final.
Yeah, so as Kid Leroy or whatever his name is has been named to perform at halftime. The NRL's always made fun of in Australia, I know, because they'll have I think last year they had there was a Tina Turner production going around Australia, and that was the halftime. It had the correlation. Tina Turner sung "Simply the Best," and it was the song of the NRL in the early days when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But like the AFL over there have like Kiss and things like that. So it's like they always get laughed at it being the little fish. But yeah, you might be more of a muso than me. This is a great question for Richie.
I mean, Kiss also, they're not a modern band, are they? Let's be honest. And we are talking about rolling out the old Nollies. With this kind of stuff. So look, it depends, who's your target audience? That's who you want to be aiming for. Look, I don't expect them to be able to do what the NFL do for the Super Bowl and get out those kind of acts. Yeah, maybe actually go for the biggest Australian / New Zealand band you can get, rather than actually try and support local. There we go. That's my one.
I don't even know who that is. I don't follow music at all, really.
I haven't got a clue. But I mean, Lord or who are those? I've gone blank now. Just that there's a bunch of boys who play in a band. And they did. Anyway, who knows?
I would just get a big screen and I would go to YouTube and I would grab Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg NFL halftime show instead and watch that, because that was a great halftime show.
Sunday's battle for 8th position on the ladder. Who do you want to win? He is going for the Dolphins. T-Max says at least they never got meatloaf.
Well, I remember they had Billy Idol one year. I think Billy Idol might have been the year the Warriors were in the grand final.
660. That's what I meant. Get 660. There we go.
They don't like 660. 660 did one of the Origin shows, and they really didn't like it. I don't know. Okay. The Australians are different.
Weirdos. Okay, Sunday's battle for so to just to bring everyone up to speed as to how does the battle for number 8 look like? We have the last game of the round is the Dolphins versus the Knights. The Knights versus the Dolphins. It's at home for the Knights. The winner of that game will go into the top 8, unless it is a draw. If that one is a draw, then the winner of the Dragons versus the Canberra Raiders
will go in.
Will then make it into the top 8 with the Dragons obviously leading that one.
A possibility, however, very unlikely, but yeah, a possibility.
That's the thing is, it has to be a draw between the first two first. But obviously, the Dragons and the Raiders don't know the result of that Dolphins Knights game, so they have to go hell for leather to get the win, just to give themselves a chance in case we do have the second draw this season. It doesn't happen very often, as you say. I think, look, with the Dolphins having been such a brand new franchise, to see them in the finals would be kind of cool. And for Bennett to do it would also just add to that legendary status of taking a team there. So I'm on the Dolphins bandwagon for this one.
Yeah, the question is, who do you want to win, not who do you think's going to win? So I'm going Dolphins too. I think the Knights. I think the Knights are going to win, but I would like to see the Dolphins. Okay. As said, good to see the Dolphins make their finals in their second year. But also, if the Knights don't make it, that's another team that was in the top 8 last year that got kicked out. So it doesn't make me feel as bad as a Warriors fan. Yeah. And then, was that the last question of that?
That was the last question. Yep.
I'm not gonna answer my question for Richie because I actually really like it, and he'll have a better answer. So I'm going to save it for next week, which gives me less work to do this weekend of thinking of a question. Spoilers for next week when you tune in. It's to do with
no. We'll leave it. We'll leave it tender hooks, folks. It's a fantastic question. It's Brad's best question for Richie all year.
Best question all year.
Next week to hear what it is. Brad, what was Richie's question for you?
He didn't give me it. Yeah, you give me a question. Go on. Do you have one?
I can give you a quiz question.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm no good at quizzes, but we can try it.
Which was the top-ranked team at the currently, or which finals teams were at the bottom of the ladder at least 1 week this season?
So out of the current top 8,
out of the current top 8, which of those teams were bottom at what after 1 week after a certain week this season?
The Roosters.
Nope, the Dolphins were bottom on round 1, and the Bulldogs were bottom in round 2.
Damn it! All right,
there we go.
See, I don't. You got me with numbers. I can't do numbers.
Which is the only team not in the top 8 to top the table after a round?
Broncos.
The Raiders. Raiders were top after round 2.
I thought the Broncos won in round 1, and I thought that was it. Damn it.
No, the Cowboys topped after round 1.
All right. Cool. Round 27. We've seen that I am no good at the stats, so we'll move away quickly. Fixtures and who I'm picking since Richie's not here.
I can pick 2.
Yeah, you can pick 2. So Thursday we've got Broncos Storm. I've gone Storm.
Yep, I think the Storm, according to the TAB, are $1.17. Broncos at $5.20. Look, they've checked out, haven't they, for the season? Even with the Storm resting players, it looks like there are issues with the Broncos squad at the moment.
And Storm have brought most of their players back for this game, so they should get it easy. Then Friday night, second game of the round. There's 2 games of the round. This is the first one. Wooden Spoon Bowl. Tigers, Eels. I've gone Tigers because I just want the Tigers to get it. They're playing in Campbelltown, which they've had some success there, but I wouldn't be putting money on it, but that's what I'm picking.
I would go as well, purely on home advantage. The TAB has the Eels as favourites at $1.67, and the Tigers at $2.20. But the Eels have only won one away game all season. The Tigers coming off a bye, as Bjorn says. So look, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. So I would, I'm backing the Tigers as well on this one. So it's in the multi.
It's in the multi, nice. Then the second game on Friday, we've got Rabbits, Roosters. I've gone Roosters. I know they've got a lot of injuries, but the Rabbits are down the bottom of the ladder for a reason.
Absolutely.
Home and away, they're both from the same place, so home and away doesn't really matter. And
the Roosters need a bit of confidence going into the finals with all those injuries to get to build combinations. So I think they will be focused on this one, even though look, they're in the they can't drop out. Oh, they can drop out the top 4. No, they can't. They can't drop out the top 4.
No, I think they're safe from that scenario. Yeah,
purely because the Bulldogs and just not got the points difference to go above them.
Yep, and then we have the Dragons Raiders. I've gone Dragons. I think what happened against the Eels is really going to light a fire under them. So I think they're going to get it, and they're at home. If it was in Canberra, it'd be the other way.
The Raiders haven't travelled very well at 4 wins, 7 losses. So I agree with you there. Dragons at home for that one.
Then we've got Doggies, Cowboys. I've gone with Bulldogs. They're playing at home again. They have lost there, but I don't see the Cowboys being a team that could do what Manly did to them last week.
I don't know.
It's tight. It's tight. I don't know if I'd put it in a multi.
Yeah, I'm pulling this one out multi. The Bulldogs are $1.75. The Cowboys $2.10. I think there might have been a bit of a what's the kind of the morale and confidence loss there for the Bulldogs. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys go there and do what and do it personally. I know you've not been. I know they're in the top 8 for a reason. I know you've not been kind of very confident about them, but I think they'll pull it off.
Yeah. All right, and then last game on Saturday, we've got Panthers, Titans. I've gone Panthers. Panthers are still refusing to rest players, so it's full strength against the Titans who have been struggling. So,
yeah, I mean the Panthers at $1.11 are the shortest odds all weekend. So,
yep. And then Sunday, the first game, we've got Manly Sharks. I've gone Manly, just simply at home. You could even use that same argument for the Sharks that I used for the Dragons, that they'll really want to come back after that embarrassment last week. But yeah, I think Manly at home, they're just too hard to beat.
Manly are good at home, 9 wins, 2 losses. But then again, the Sharks travel well as well. 7 wins, 4 losses. Look, they're one of the best traveling teams. I'm going to leave this one out. I think it's too close to call, personally.
That's fair. In the last game, the most important game of the round, Knights Dolphins, winner in the finals. I've gone Knights. No, I just said I think the Dolphins. I want to see the Dolphins, but I think Newcastle it was a very tough. In these must-win games in Newcastle, they seem to always deliver. You think of that finals game last year where they needed to win to keep going. So yeah, I think the Knights. I hope I'm wrong in that one. I really want the Dolphins to win, but I'm going with who I'd put money on would be the Knights.
I'm not going to put some. I'm leaving this one out of the multi. I think it's too close.
Bjorn said, Old Boys Day in Newcastle, and they always love playing well on Old Boys Day in Newcastle.
But they're not great at home. 6 wins, 5 losses. The Dolphins aren't that bad away from home. 5 wins, 6 losses. So yeah, I think this one really is in the balance. And I'm going to go with the Bennett factor. Look, come on, he's this. It really is. So to take a new franchise second season to the finals would be massive. So I reckon he'll be really up for this one, as it is another string to that bow of legendary status.
Yeah, so I'm looking at my multi. I only picked 5 games in my multi. I picked Storm, Roosters, Doggies, Panthers, and Manly. So yeah, those games that were an hour and about, I didn't even put my money on the line for, and I put money on the Warriors last week. So it shows how.
I've gone for a different 5, but I've also gone for 5 as well.
Yeah.
But still, it will return $12 on that.
I'm pretty confident we're going to get money on your multis in the finals. I think once we get to finals, it'll be a bit more straightforward.
I'm pretty sure we'll be winning like a $1.01.
Winning's winning, Paul.
To say it straightforward, it won't add up to much.
As long as either I put money at the beginning of the year on the Panthers to win the whole thing. So if they can go all the way, I get a bit of a bump at the end of the year. Also put money on the Warriors to make the top 4. So I've lost money there. So Jacko, you can go now. I'll quickly cover Super League.
Just to do the quick reminder. Look, folks, we only ever put $2 on these. Or only ever put $2 on these multis. Please bet responsibly, and do not bet any money you cannot afford to lose.
I'll take that under advisement. The girlfriend tells me that all the time. So Super League, Hull KR and Wigan still sit at the top of the ladder. The way it's going, Paul, I'm basically just updating the points in this because they all just keep staying the same. But Hull KR and Wigan are 38 points at the top of the ladder. Warrington are 3rd with 34. We had a bit of a change because St. Helens and Salford have moved up to 4th and 5th with 28 points, kind of doing a bit of a divide with the rest. The results, Lee versus Warrington, Lee defeated them 16-12. Hull KR defeated Salford 32-12. Castleford defeated Hull FC 39-20. Wigan defeated Catalans 26-18. St. Helens defeated Huddersfield 18-10. And Leeds defeated the last place London 21-20. London are on the same points as Hull FC at the bottom, but they're still 100 and something points behind in the points differential. So it's not going to happen, but you never know. And then this week we've got Wigan versus Hull KR, Warrington versus St. Helens.
But you never know. It's not going to happen.
You never know. Look, London just needs to play Hull FC a few more times. Get a couple of wins. Warrington versus St. Helens, Leeds versus Hull FC, Castleford versus Lee, Salford versus Catalans, and Uddersfield versus London. So that's it. Anything else you want to add, Paul, in your impromptu co-hosting role tonight?
No, we'll have Richie back next week, folks. Don't worry. Don't despair.
Who knows?
Yes.
We never know. I didn't even know he wasn't coming.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he has been dropped on that. Bjorn says, did I have a local team in England, Paul? You don't sound like a northerner where most teams are. Oh, how dare you! I was actually born in Pontefract up in Yorkshire. So
the Yorkshire Knights. I think they're the Knights. I think that's what they're called.
So Warrington Warriors would be one of the closer ones.
Warrington Wolves.
Warrington Wolves. Who are the Warriors?
The Warriors are Wigan, my team.
Oh, Wigan Warriors. Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course they are. Yes. But I always would back Warriors over Saints when it came to, or Wigan over Saints when it came to sort of grand final time on those ones. And my dad comes from Humbersides. He's near Hull, so he would either be a Hull Kingston Rovers or a Hull FC, except he's a Grimsby Fan Football Club.
I'd go with KR at the moment because they're doing better.
I
don't know if you can chop and change. I think it's a bit more staunch up there.
Not in Hull, you can't. No, not when you've got two teams so close to each other. But yeah, I would guess Warrington would probably, or Leeds Rhinos, one of those two would be my local club.
That's very good. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Paul. For your weekly updates on everything rugby league, tune in to the show next week at 8 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube, or at your own convenience on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Thanks for helping me out here, Paul, tonight, and good night, everyone.
Bye, missing you already.